Let's move on to Stop the Steal. Wanted to do this segment. We'll round it out today. We think we'll try and make this a consistent part of the theme. If Trump does end up losing the election, I'm sure you're going to hear a lot more about this. But one of the things we did last time back in 2020 is we just went through every single major claim around Stop the Steal, every lawsuit, what the adjudication was, what the litigation looked like, what the judge ruling, what the claims. So we're going to start first with Donald Trump. He made some comments while he was doing the garbage thing around the election. Let's take a listen.
Circumstances under which you would be defeated but not say that the election was stolen?
If it was a corrupt election, that could happen. But so far we're doing pretty well. They found a lot of smaller things in Pennsylvania, as you know, and I think they've been corrupted and taken care of. They were corrupt. They were corrupted, but I think it's been taken care of.
On that topic, you called for law enforcement to investigate.
I was going to say, do you anticipate to declare a victory on election night?
I hope that we're going to declare a victory. I mean, they spend all that money on machines. Paper ballots cost you 8% of what a machine costs. 8%.
All right, so there you go. It's like maybe, in terms of we'll look out for if it's a corrupt election, but I don't think it'll be a corrupt election. Nonetheless,
he also put out on Truth Social, Pennsylvania is cheating and getting caught at large-scale levels rarely seen before. Report cheating to authorities. Law enforcement must act now. So, I mean, we laid out he is clearly, and Republicans in general, are trying to lay the groundwork of this, if we don't win, it was stolen, right? It was rigged. And there's a lot more concerted effort in advance to lay that groundwork than there was last time around. You can go watch our segment about how this could all go down, the things that make it, this sort of premeditated and very well-funded, by the way, effort in advance is something that is actually worse than last time around. On the other hand, you now have the Electoral Count Act. Donald Trump is not the president of the United States, so that puts, a lot on the other side of the scale. But it's very clear what he's trying to lay the groundwork to do, which, also with regard to this Pennsylvania thing, and Pennsylvania has been a big focus on the right side, or I'm sure you've seen as well. This kind of bit them in the ass previously in Georgia when they were running in these runoff elections, both of which they lost after Trump had just lost, because there was so much conversation about how the vote had been rigged and the election was stolen, et cetera, that they depressed their own turnout because people felt like, oh, well, if it's just going to be stolen, why bother vote whatsoever? So there is a risk in advance, too, of trying to, in advance, convince voters that, oh, this thing is rigged and people are cheating at large-scale levels rarely seen before, as Trump says in his Truth Social post.
Right. So let's go through. So we did a roundup on social media of all the big controversies. We're going to start with this one. Let's put this up there from Michigan. This is from the Michigan Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson. Now, according to the Secretary of State of Michigan, there are, quote, issues with Dominion voter access terminals in counties that use them in the voter access terminal. Specifically, it appears with the terminals that are handicap assisting. Now, voters using this on election day will either have to vote straight ticket or manually split their ballot, unlike how Michigan voters usually have the option to select straight party option and then override their party selection for certain races. Benson said that this was an issue that has frustrated officials in places where these machines are used. Quote, I think all of us who use Dominion machines were unhappy to learn about this during the testing period as early voting began, so we are working to seek accountability on that front and working with our clerks to ensure voters are aware of this programming issue. Again, this appears to be, in the assisted ballot casting part of the area from early voting, so it's not all, but of course, wanted to go ahead and flag it here. And it is one that has already been acknowledged by the Secretary of State, of course, and then also has been a nationwide thing. That said, I don't know, you could look at it either way. People sent it and were like, well, this is evidence that there's problems. I'm like, yeah, but I mean, if you're evidence of a quote unquote problem or cheating, why would then the Secretary of State come out and acknowledge it and say that we are working on it? So look, nobody's gonna sit here and claim that there's no issues or whatever, but it almost seems like the opposite, where they're coming out, acknowledging in the future, talking about this quote unquote fix and exactly which type of ballots it can affect. So regardless, you can just say, That's the explanation for what it is. And if it comes, in the future as subject to some lawsuit or whatever, this is the origin.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's also not clear which side this would theoretically benefit. The idea is just like it makes those particular machines make it more difficult to vote split ticket instead of just straight D or straight R. So again, it's not really even clear which side that would potentially benefit, but it just makes it more cumbersome for people who are voting at these disabled access terminals, which is unfortunate, but not cheating. It's just like more cumbersome for them. And I think it's smart that she announced this in advance to sort of pre-butt any potential like allegations after the fact.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, by the way, lecture for election people, just say it all out in the future and avoid the mess of next time. Let's go to the next part. Let's put this up there on the screen. This was another big one. You probably saw it everywhere. ABC News 16 WNEP, the affiliate, people were saying, look, they already called it for Kamala Harris. Well, the alleged response or the reason for why they had this, what was it, reporting for Harris and Trump that showed up in the middle of a Formula One race on ESPN, ABC affiliate, was that there was some graphics testing package that they were doing that appeared to have up on the screen. I also think we should just interrogate the thought process here. Like, is the thought process that the media is going to rig the election by pre-calling it for Harris, and they're going to work then with the Secretary of State and Pennsylvania to just put up fake numbers? And why would you then do a dry run ahead of time? Like, what is the logical explanation? This is where the low IQ nature of this stuff honestly just drives me crazy. What is more likely, a graphics thing or a concerted effort by WNEP to pre-call the election? Like, what world do you think we're living in here? All right. And look, I already know there's going to be some butthurt Republicans in the comments being like, oh, fake, whatever. But it's like, look, be real with yourself. If you believe that, honestly, you're an idiot. Like, I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah.
If you really believe that that's a concerted effort to like steal the election by WNEP ABC affiliate who put up the wrong graphic. Yeah, because local news graphics teams are, of course, the most crack in the business. I'm just like, what are we doing here? Is this just me working here to know so obviously how many times do you watch the show and the wrong graphic goes up on the screen?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, people who have put up wrong graphics plenty of times.
Sorry,
no offense,
they're in my ear
Eric, in the control room. No offense.
It's true.
It happens to the best of us. As someone who's been part of network like MSNBC election coverage, all of the networks, they preload fake election results in order to test out like how it looks state by state and make sure their stuff is running. In fact, we just did a test here, Mac and Griffin did a test of our election graphics literally yesterday, guys.
And it could have been mistakenly put on YouTube. It only took one clip.
Yeah, they uploaded
and it would have been uploaded.
They uploaded the clip, but for, I guess it's private or whatever only. But, very easy to accidentally click the wrong thing and it goes public. And then, oh my God, we're part of the election conspiracy. So just ask yourself, Occam's razor, which is more likely?
Yes, that's right.
At the same time, we have had a few wild incidents occurring at polling stations during the early vote. We can put this up on the screen. A machete-wielding young Trump supporter was arrested on a variety of charges for menacing people who were going to vote. I believe this occurred in Florida. So they held Neptune Beach Police Department held a media briefing following the arrest of a man in connection with an armed disturbance that occurred at the Beaches Branch Library, a polling location. You can see him there with the Trump signs and the machete, and I don't know what he thought he was doing, but it was pretty menacing, stupid, and illegal. And
he was arrested.
Good work with that. And he was arrested.
He was arrested.
This one
this is my personal favorite.
Really wild. Put this up on the screen. So this dude who ran for, I believe, Congress.
Yes.
This is Kansas City. So former GOP candidate. He stole ballots they describe a scheme to create controversy. So effectively, he got invited because he's sort of like a local, guy who's well known. He ran for Congress, et cetera, et cetera. So he got invited to this public test they were doing of their election systems. Part of the test was to demonstrate to the public, like, this is all clean and free and fair, and we've got an organized system, et cetera. So he goes to this test. And it was live streamed, the whole thing, so people could see everything that was happening, which is how he got caught. And he stole 2 ballots, folded them up, and put them in his pocket, and then starts whispering to someone like, oh, the count of the ballots is wrong. I think they're missing some ballots, blah, blah, blah. After he was the one who stole the ballots. And since it was on the live stream, he got caught. And before he was caught and people went back through the live stream and saw this all happen, he went on a Facebook Live and was talking about how, oh, there's election fraud and they're short multiple ballots, blah, blah, blah. Again, because he's the one that stole the ballots. So this was an effort to, try to create a narrative about how the election's rigged and it's stolen and you can't trust the results, blah, blah, blah. And this guy got caught red-handed being the one doing the ballot manipulation and, stealing these ballots during the test. So amazing stuff.
2 more
Incredible
election
stuff.
updates. There was one that came out of Michigan. There was allegedly, there was some one voter ID where multiple voter IDs have been linked to duplicate ballots in Michigan. The Michigan Secretary of State has confirmed to the RNC that those duplicates will not be counted and it was a glitch in the system. If anything, the infrastructure at this point for election integrity and all that is so gigantic on the Republican side. Hundreds of billions of dollars have now been spent on this with watchdogs, lawsuits, lawyers, and all these other people that they are watching and investigating almost every single thing. So we will continue to do so. And in almost every case, you've either been responsive or whatever, or it just turned out to be total bullshit. The other one that has come up now is the judge has extended mail balloting in Bucks County. There was a whole lawsuit about this. I just thought I would mention it, where they were trying to close early voting at I think it was a deadline of 5 p.m. on October 29th. The judge there ruled that violated Pennsylvania election code and that they will then extend normal early voting for normal business hours before the close of business on November 1. So I guess you still have a day and a half or so to go and to take advantage of that. They are, in terms of the time frame, I think they also limited it from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. But there you go. So look into that. If you live in Bucks County, PA, beautiful place, by the way, New Hope, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. I think overall, one thing we noted last time is that the election apparatus really is a patchwork. You really are dependent on these individual local counties
jurisdictions, literally,
to run this election. And so, of course, there are going to be anomalies. There are going to be glitches. Every election, there's, people are upset because they had to wait in line too long, or they feel like, every election, there are going to be some issues that crop up because it's human beings trying to do a thing en masse in jurisdictions across the entire country at a time of a lot of heightened anxiety, tension, et cetera. So just take all of that in, because there is something that is, goes awry or whatever, they don't have enough ballots, whatever happens, that is not evidence of a mass coordinated scheme. It's evidence that human beings are fallible and there will be some technical issues and glitches on election day. That is, I can tell you with 100% certainty that will be the case.
Right, and yeah, look, if it does look connected, if you can prove it, send me the evidence. I'd love to see it. Please, I beg you to send it to me. It's the story of the century. If you can prove it, send it. I'll take a look. And then just last thing on that, because everyone's always like, oh, well, why can't we be like Brazil or France or India? Well, because we have this little thing called federalism. So you should ask yourself, do you really want the federal government to run all elections in this country? Absolutely not. No, we don't want that. I don't want that, at least.
I kind of want uniform rules, though.
Well, that's a different story in terms of rule. But I'm saying in terms of the actual bureau running the overall election, that's a terrible idea and is the absolute antithesis of the Electoral College and specifically of federalism itself. So that's how it's always been. I think it's probably better. If anything, the decentralized system certainly has its annoyances in terms of why it takes forever and all of that. But the alternative, in a French or an Indian or whatever system, is that the government itself is the one that runs it, which obviously is a massive conflict of interest there.
Yeah. So, yes, indeed. But yeah, I personally would like to see federal set consistent rules instituted across the jurisdiction so that everybody has the same rules when it comes to mail-in ballot, early vote,
voter
early
ID,
in-person, voter
felons,
ID. Let's just have, convicted, felons, let's just have it be standard so that you don't have the right to vote in one state but not have the right to vote in another, which I personally think is preposterous. But in any case, that's the system we have.
All right. That was fun.
Yeah. We'll see you
fun
guys
Halloween show.
Tomorrow.
I hope
Ryan
you can take
and
this
Emily,
seriously.
we're going to do a little remote election preview thing so we can break down whatever comes out today, latest polls, et cetera. So make sure to join us for that.
That's right. We'll see you then. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.